Well, I think this has been a choreographed thing when you're talking about climate change. I mean, it's really an interesting area in the sense that China is the one who's been stepping forward in the past. China has always been seen as somebody who's getting up to speed. Right now, China is setting the speed. So it's an opportunity for Obama once again to create a legacy issue on something he believes is very important. And for China, it's a real signal to the rest of the world that they're joining in a very responsible way the geopolitical issues that are facing, especially this issue of climate change, which is really affecting people's perception of what governments need to do.
If they join forces and they take the lead, does the rest of the world follow, you think?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, right now, the economic times are not good, but when you lead by example, I think that in the end, you get more effective results. You cannot coerce countries into doing this kind of action. It has to really come from within. But you have a concerned electorate around the world. People are looking at these issues, and there is tremendous amount of pressure. With China and the U.S. being the two largest emitters, their action sends a very, very strong message that if we're willing to do it, hopefully you will also.
The bilateral investment treaty, the BIT, as many of us are calling it, there's a lot of expectations there as well. What needs to be done to push this forward, do you think, and do you think we'll hear anything during this visit?
Well, it's not clear that there will be a major breakthrough. The issue still from the U.S. side is this negative list. They want it sharply curtailed. There's also issues about the cybersecurity and perceptions of which side is things. I mean, from the Chinese side, they see it as hypocritical. The U.S. is far advanced in terms of their intelligence gathering and regularly spies on allies and adversaries alike. The issue for China is, as they have said, is, you know, if you have something, show it to us. But these kind of animosities are really pointing to a larger picture, which is this issue of the U.S. adjusting to a multipolar world. And it's very difficult. You have economic issues, you have geopolitical issues, and then you have territorial issues. So they're in the process of working this out. It's good that this went ahead. There were all sorts of suggestions that the U.S. was going to get tough. You know, this was not the main focus of the U.S. political scene, as you know. It's been mostly on the presidential debates and what's happening, especially on the Republican side.
We could talk for a couple hours on this one. Help me out just a little bit. You mentioned the negative list when it comes to the BIT. Explain that a little bit, and where might there be room for compromise?
Well, the negative list is a list that's put out by China that says specifically, here are areas that we will not allow any kind of participation in within. And these are generally seen as strategic areas. Because China is a centrally planned economy still, there are areas where their state-owned enterprises continue to enjoy a very, very strong presence, and they do not want competition for the U.S. The U.S., of course, has its own negative list. These are mostly involved in areas of security, national defense, etc. So both sides are kind of looking at this. Is there room? Yes, there probably is. China has said that in opposition to what the U.S. says, look, if you want us to open our negative list, we also want you to open yours. So they said, you know, this restriction on certain kinds of technology that they say will not be used in defense or arms development, these should be not put off limit to us.
Yeah. We often talk about what the U.S. wants out of these major visits. Let me ask you, since you're close to the situation there, what does President Xi walk away with a week from now when he returns to Beijing? What does he want to accomplish?
Well, in China, things are very carefully choreographed. You cannot see this as an isolated incident. You had first off, this is, you know, there's always a visit by the president. Who did it in 2010, 1997 was Jiang Zemin. This is his time on the stage, but this is a quite different stage than if you look back 5 years ago, even at Hu's visit. Xi is coming in pretty much as an equal. He's walking in. He had the very big military parade where he celebrated, and this is one of the big issues that people do not understand. For China, This was a symbol to the rest, a signal to the rest of the world and internally that China will never again be subject to the kind of humiliation that was forced on it first by colonial powers and then second by the Japanese. They're saying we are now secure, we are a growing economy, we are a stakeholder in the world. So this puts him in a very, very good position in terms of the nationalistic feelings within China. The question is, both sides are growing nationalistic feelings, and can these be reconciled in a way where these countries can work together as opposed to seeing each other in opposition?
Yeah, it feels like a very interesting time for the two countries. Einar, it's good to see you as always. Thank you.